morning everyone. How are you all? Our first art workshop of the summer holidays. A virtual one. Hopefully soon, in the next couple of years, we'll be doing this for real. If I ever get the art workshop converted that we're planning on doing in the garden. Fingers crossed, need to get on to Mr. Cochran to get that done. Yeah, that's the big plan. Hopefully in a few years' time we've got a big barn outside, so hopefully I'm going to start doing some art workshops and sessions, especially in the holidays, because I find the holidays really tough and quite boring. All the workshops always end up being sporty, and if you're not a particularly sporty person, there's not really ever much to do in the holidays. So yeah, so I've got Alex with me here. We were on holiday last week. We ended up running away for a week. We didn't really mean to, but we just last minute thought, oh, let's just go. So we had a lovely week near Loch Lomond in a lodge. Home from home, didn't do very much, just went for walks every day, took lots of nice photographs. You guys played down at the beach, but we just had time to chill. So there was no art session last week, so I'm really sorry about that. The art sessions are going to be really relaxed, really informal. They are going to get posted on YouTube and on here afterwards, so if you've been busy for whatever reason, you've missed it live, probably not been missing very much by the way, I'll post them and you can always catch up later. They'll be for anyone that's 3-year-old up to a grown-up, okay, so they'll be quite chilled out in that respect, they'll not be age appropriate, and the materials that we'll be using will be quite flexible as well. So I've put down to use oil pastels today, but obviously if you don't have oil pastels at home, you can use paint, you can use crayons, you can use pens, you can use whatever you want. Oil pastels are probably the best, but if you don't have them, you don't have them. So, thank you for joining me. We're going to get going. This one should only last about 20 minutes. It should only last about 20 minutes, half an hour. It's not a long one at all. Oh, and another thing that I think we'll do with these workshops is we'll just have a theme. They'll just have a theme. We might even just look at artists every single week, and they'll be a bit more personal to you, a lot more creative, so you can bring in your own creativity into them. So they won't be as step by step, if you know what I mean. Right, you will need for today some good quality cartridge paper. I'm going for A5, it's always one of my favourite sizes. As I said earlier, you will need some oil pastels if you have them. Now we're going to be looking at an artist, one of my favourite artists, Vincent van Gogh. This is one of his pictures here. It's one of his most famous landscapes, Starry, Starry Night. And if you look at it really, really closely, there's lots of texture and lines in it. Now Van Gogh used oil paint. Oil pastels are a dried version of oil paint. We can't use oil paint in school because A, it takes forever to dry, B, it's pretty pricey, and C, to clean your brushes after you use it, you have to use a lot of methylated spirits and bad things. So we can't use that in school. So these are what we use instead, and they're one of my favourites. They're basically dried oil paint. Okay, it's all evaporated out and all you're left with is the pigment. So when you start to use them, they're like a crayon, but when you start to use them, they start to get a bit slippy, a bit slidey, and they start to go back into almost oil paint. So they're brilliant. They're about as close to oil paint as you can get. Oil sticks. You also get oil bars as well, big thick ones. So if we were looking at this, if Mrs. C was lucky enough to have this painting in her house, and I'm showing you it for real, it wouldn't be very smooth. You would see all of these little marks bumping out from the canvas. Okay, it's very textural. And one other thing that you'll notice about the way that Van Gogh works is his lines go in the direction of whatever it is that he's putting into his landscape. So this sky, it's called Starry, Starry Night, but this sky has got really, really nice swirly lines. And if you look at the moon really closely, these lines go around the moon. When you look at the hills, the lines go in a diagonal direction. If you look at this tree, they go up and down the way. And if you look at even the roofs on the houses there, they go in that direction as well. So he uses a lot of lines, he uses a lot of texture, very, very thick oil paint that he uses. So if you were to put your hand for that, it would be really, really bumpy. So I want you to think about that today when you're doing your artwork. I don't want, it shouldn't be looking all smooth. The sky shouldn't be the same blue all over. It should be lots and lots of little lines. Okay, and I'll show you how to do that in a second. But before we get going with the colour, what we're going to do first of all is we're going to do one of my favourite things to do is we're going to pop an edge, a border onto our paper. So you will need some masking tape, and what we're going to do, I noticed that Abby's on, I don't know who else is on just now, but I've noticed that Abby's on. Abby, you've done this before when you did your Kandinsky, so you'll be brilliant at this. So if you haven't used masking tape before, it's just a paper tape, just paper gum tape, decorator's dream. It tears really easily, you won't need scissors for it, but if you pull it, it will not break, so you need to keep your fingers really close together and you're almost tearing the paper. So I always use this concept of being like a crab. Pincers. Once I find the end, that is. This is a new rule. Had to get reinforcements because we've been using so much lately. There it is there. Okay, so what I would do first of all is decide what way up you have on your paper. If it's a landscape, normally you would have your paper landscape. Okay, but you know, there's nothing stopping you having a portrait landscape. So first of all, position your paper in a good place on the table. That's where it's going to be stuck. So you don't want it hanging off the edge. You don't want it squint. You want it in a good place. And what we're going to do first of all is to take the tape off at the end. It's good to know what order you put it down in. So I always do the same thing. I do the top, the side, and then the bottom last. So I run my way down my body. So top, side, bottom. So what I do first of all is I don't measure the tape onto the paper because it sticks. Above the paper, I just put it down onto my table. I measure enough that will fit, and then what I do with my fingers, just like pincers, I just tear it. I didn't think I said to everybody, Alex is here with me today. Alex has gone out for a walk, but Alex is here today. So if you're wondering what all the noises in the background, it'll be Alex. Now, when you pick your tape up, whatever you do, don't pick it up with one hand because it spins round and then you end up with a big masking tape ball. What to do is pick it up at the same time, and then it's slightly transparent so you can see your paper coming through. What I do is I stick down the one side of it first and then the other side. And what you're trying to get is 2/3 of the tape onto the paper and 1/3 onto your table, which in my case is my chopping board. So I can hold it up to show you. So you're looking for 2/3 on the paper, 1/3 on the table, and you've just got a little bit extra there at the sides. Don't be like Alex and measure it on top of your paper, because then if it's not straight, when you pick it up, it's already stuck to the paper. So measure it above the paper, just slightly above it. Right. Once you've got the top down, that then means it's stuck. Now, I'm doing it on a board, which is hard because it means that mine's moving. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to measure it to the side, make sure I've got enough, and again I've got my fingers really close together with pincers of crab. When I pick it up, I don't just pick it up with one hand, I pick up both at the same time, and I can see my paper through there, so I'm just going to wipe that down. If you were using paint with this, it would be really important right now that you made sure that you've got all your air bubbles out. But we're not using paint today, so you don't need to worry about that. But just in the future, if you ever want to use this again. Next, I'm just going to measure enough for that side. Got my fingers really close together, and I'm just going to pick my tape up like that. And again, I can see it coming through, so I know where I want it. And I just wipe that down gently. You've stuck your paper down really square, which means you're going to have to work squint, so maybe have it straight. Okay? Go down there. Right, in the classroom this is always tricky because we don't have a roll of tape each. So I always have to give one of these per table, so this always takes forever, this bit. And there's always one person at the table who's amazing at it, who ends up taking over and doing it for everyone. That's me just now. Right, so I've got top, side, and then bottom last. There's also always someone in the classroom who doesn't do it in the right order, and when it comes to taking the tape off at the end, it always ends up being a disaster.
It always ends up being me.
Because they haven't done it the right way, and then it ends up ripping the paper. Right, so picked it up. Got 1/3 on the table and 2/3 on my paper. So I'll just show you that just now. Okay. So this, no matter how messy this is going to get in the middle, because we are going to be like Van Gogh, we're going to be slapping on the colour, making lots of marks. No matter how messy this gets, you'll still have a really, really nice professional edge to it, because when you take the tape off, nothing will have touched that. Try to keep working to the edge though. Don't stop there. Try and go right onto the tape when you're doing this. Right, I was just waiting on Alex to finish. I love when Alex is working with me because it gives me a good indication of how you're getting on at home. He's in P5, so he's pretty much, well, no, P6 actually. So he's pretty much in the middle of the age group that we're working in. So I always know if I've given you long enough, take off your mic and stop being stupid. Right, I've also got another Van Gogh here. This is the one that Alex is wanting to work on today. Poppy Field, which is one of my favourite ones to do. If you're a teacher working today, this is a lovely one to do for Remembrance Day. We often do this up the school in the week of Remembrance Day because it's just a really, really nice, quick, easy one-off lesson. Okay, so look at the sky there. Look at all that texture. And then look at the way the clouds have been done. And then you've got your fields, which are a bit more curvaceous. And then you've got lots of texture there for the poppies. Okay. I think we're ready to go, are we? Take that off your face, please. Thank you. Right, we were gifted this massive box of oil pastels from one of my art teacher friends, so we're feeling very spoiled and very, very swanky here. I should actually say, by the way, if you've ever got an issue with getting materials, if it's ever an issue, I have got so much. Mr. Denny has decided to take a wee career break, my favourite art teacher friend, and he came to see us for the last week of the holidays there with a van load. I kid you not, of materials. So I have got my stuff and now his stuff. So if you ever need to borrow anything, like even if today you realise I've not got any tape and you live locally, give me a buzz. I've got millions of nice cartridge paper. He gave us this. Yeah, gave us this massive box of oil pastels. So I mean, even if you just wanted to come and borrow a bag worth and then bring them back to me, or you know, I've got loads of watercolours, printing materials, loads of things. So if there's ever anything. You've got about 17 boxes of stuff, yeah. So if you ever need anything and you're struggling, don't go on Amazon, come and see me first. Right, let's get going. So we've taped our paper down, we've got our border going, we are going to go for it. Now, that's perfect because I did some of it for you. Now, one thing I want you guys to try and get away from is drawing and colouring your elements first. Okay, I want you to try and do a layered picture for me today. So I want you to think about the sky first. And we're going to put the proportions of that in first, and then we're going to block that in. The good thing with oil pastels is you can layer them. Okay, so for example, when I do this as a lesson in class, I often get one or two people who draw all these poppies. They draw all the little dots, and then they try and colour around the poppy with the green. It takes them forever, and we don't need to do that. Okay, and I say time's up, which is often what happens in my lessons. They've then left with a tiny red dot away down here and a little bit of green and then a white space. So I want you to try and get into the habit of layering your artwork. That's if you're one of my pupils.
Except for here. That's what's
yeah. So decide what picture you're doing. We're going to go for this poppy one. I'm going to put Starry to the side just now. It's just a good example to show you the lines. If you're being super brave and you have got a photograph, I want you to try and copy the photograph, but I want you to keep going with that texture. Okay, so what I'm going to do first of all is I'm going to look at my picture and I'm going to look and see, is there an easy way to divide this bit of paper up? So if I look at it, I look at the sky and I measure it just with my hands, just like that. If I look at it, I can then move my hands in position. So we've got, there's the measurement of the sky, and I'm going to pull my hand away, but I haven't made it bigger or smaller. Bring it down, 1, 2. So the sky is about a third of the paper, of the canvas, let's see. So with a light colour, it's quite blue, the sky, with a light blue, I'm just going in lightly, put in a line, it's about a third of the way across, okay? And then if I also notice there's then, let's just stole another bit, there's also this back sort of perspective here of the fields and the hills. If we measured that in the space that's left, that's also about a third. So then what I'm going to do is with a yellow, I'm just going to split that across the way. I'm just going to measure it as well. Oil pastels don't rub out, so that's why I'm pressing really, really lightly with them. But the good news is you can cover up any mistakes that you make. So I've got my sky, I've got my hills now, and I've got the field at the bottom with the red. Now for the fun bit. Right, so I'm going to get all the colours that I need. So I need white, and I need a bit of black, and I need a bit of navy. What else am I seeing in there? There's a tiny little bit of green actually, quite a dark green as well. So as I said, what you're not going to do now is just get the same colour and just go over it. I really, really want you just to texturally lay this colour down and have a play with the colours. Yeah, I'm using white. Have a play with the colours. Put the white down first, lay the blue on top, and look what happens. You end up with instant shades and tints and colours. There should be loads of whites in there. There's loads of whites in there. Oh, Alex. What are you expecting? Okay, so I'm just building up these colours. If you put a bit of black down and it looks too dark, just get your blue on top. Now, also what will be happening in these sessions is it'll go quite quiet because it's not like the last time where I was telling you lots and lots of information. And I know that you're all probably working with different pictures just now. So for now, all I want you to try and do is get that sky done, but try and do it in quite a textural way. You might want to put more textury clouds in. I'm having mine going across the way. Well, it's up to you. But what you want to do is you don't want to go like that. You want to really, really get those little brush strokes in. So Vincent van Gogh was known as a post-impressionist or an expressionist. Okay, so he came just after impressionists. So impressionists were famous for and changed the way that people paint. So they wanted to paint outside. Until then, people always worked in the studio. And Van Gogh continued with that, but he was a bit more expressive in the way he'd worked. And Alex watched the video clip earlier that I put on from YouTube because he didn't really know much about Van Gogh. As per usual, all he knew was that he was insane and cut off his own ear. And that's always what my kids seem to know when I mention Van Gogh. So we're having a wee look at the video that I posted earlier about him.
It's a bit crazy like you.
It's a bit crazy like Mum, thanks. And we also found out that, was he a wealthy guy back then? No. So nobody actually liked his work. Nobody liked his work at all, in fact. In fact, he got completely and utterly slated for it, and a lot of people didn't like him as a person. He didn't really have he really struggled with his mental health, having friends, and yeah, that's what he's most famous for, chopping off his own ear. And being quite repetitive in the way that he worked. Like, people think Sunflowers is just a one-off painting, but it's a series of paintings. He's done it over and over and over again, just in different ways. Okay, so I've got my sky done. It's quite messy, quite textural, but remember we're doing a Van Gogh way of painting. So lots and lots of little lines. And as I said earlier, because the oil pastels are quite thick, you can lay colours on top of them. One thing that never works quite well is putting white on top, just like if you're a painting. Putting white on top is always quite hard. And you've also put a solid block of colour down when there was no need to, and you're doing lots of short lines. You need to do instead of long sweeping lines. Right, now I'm going to have a wee look at the way these hills are, and that'll show you a good indication of how to layer up. So if I just look at the shape, actually a little bit darker green, if I just look at the shape of these hills, so when I start to lay them down on top, great news is they actually lie on top of this. Have you got your own picture though? Yeah, you do. Over there. Okay, so you can really, really go for it. So I don't know if I've said this or not, Van Gogh is one of my favourites. So the way that I'm doing the hills is I'm just sweeping them across in the direction that they're going in. This time we're changing the direction, the mark making technique that we're doing. Okay. I'm going to, as per usual, get some other colours in there as well. So I'm putting quite a bit of black. There's quite a bit of black in this, but not solid black. It's almost like mixed in with the green. Okay, I'm going to get some light green in there as well. Just really going for it. Really, really piling on these oil pastels. Okay. And I'm glad that we measured at the beginning, because I know when to stop with the hills now. So I know that I'm coming down as far as that. Okay.
So 1/3.
Yeah, 1/3 of what was left
So
was
here.
hills. Yeah, about that. But everyone at home will be doing different pictures. That's one thing I say. You've actually got a nicer quality print off of that. It's got nicer, it's got a lot more yellow in that, doesn't it? Than I've got. Okay, there's some of these little shrubs that are down here as well. And then we've got some of that nice ochre yellow. Yeah, we've got some of this nice yellowy ochre. So, finally done with the hills, that's me now just going to sweep down into the field. So if you were doing this as an art lesson at home in school, we would only have 50 minutes normally for an art lesson, and I'm assuming with distancing when we go back, that's going to be really crucial. So this would be a lovely art lesson to do in 50 minutes, but as I said, if you haven't planned out enough, what you'll probably find at this point is you run out of time. So now what I'm going to do for the bottom half is I'm just going to block in some green, the right shade of green first of all, however. Don't also expect, a lot of the time when I'm in class, a lot of kids expect to find that exact colour in the box of oil pastels. That's never probably going to happen. So what you have to get into the habit of doing is trying to mix colours. Maybe even have a scrap bit of paper sitting next to you so that you can try colours and, you know, overlap colours, see if you can find the exact shade you need. And bless you, Alex. We're still struggling. We're hay fever here. Went away last week. Did we get it once? Hardly at all. This week, back to struggling, aren't we? Right, so I'm just going to try and get some more of that dark green in. That's what I'm saying, that you're not ever going to find the exact colour you need. And don't forget, if you're trying to get a secondary colour, think about the way that you get that secondary colour. So if it's a shade of green and you want it to get darker, add some blue. If it's a shade of orange and you want it to get, you know, red or darker, add some red. If you want it to get lighter, add that lighter colour. So yeah, don't forget the way that you mix your colours. Okay, so I'm just starting to build that up. So you'll notice I've left my poppies till last because that's sort of the last feature. I've also got some trees to put in the background as well. So the way, when I do a landscape, what I think about are the things that permanently stay. So the sky always permanently stays. It changes, but it's always there. So I always do my sky first. Then I think about things like the background, like the hills. They always change as well. They always stay the same, as well. The fields and the position normally stay the same, but what's in them might change. So what's growing out of them might change. So I would do sky, the ground, and then the things that are growing. So the buildings, the people, the trees, the plants, everything like that then go on top. So you're almost layering it.
What you mean by growing.
Yeah, so you're almost layering up your picture. I'm just going to get a little bit more texture in there. And that's just got the bottom half done. There's quite a lot of white showing, but don't stress about that at the minute because we're going to, yeah, it's lovely. Because we're going to be covering it now in the red poppies. So get as bright a red as you can if you're doing this one.
Yes.
A good combination. And lots of, this is what I normally hear. Try not to break the oil pastels. What I would do is just almost splodge down those colours. Now look at where they are, look at where they're placed. If you look at them in the background, it's just a solid bank of red. Due to the perspective, you won't actually see a lot of the dots anymore. Get into this habit of sort of wiggling your oil pastel as you're using it. Don't you know, keep going over it. Just wiggle it. Just use it really loosely in your hand. Don't be scared to get some.
Wait, is this a place in your life?
Yeah, it'll be in France or Amsterdam, I would imagine. Painted in Europe most of the time, so I'm not sure. I think it's in France. I'll need to look that up, Alex. It's not one of his most famous. Don't do that. It's not one of his most, because you're breaking the oil pastel and chipping it on. I just told everyone not to do that. It's not one of his most, stop it. It's not one of his most famous pictures. Probably why I like it actually. I like his work that's a bit freer and not as famous. So really, really get that red in there. That's if you're doing this one. You've maybe chosen one of his other ones. If so, I cannot wait to see what you've chosen.
Wait,
I put about.
You don't know what to do now.
No, they will, because they'll just use the same style and the same technique. Just have different features. Remember, these are more workshops at the minute, and they might be being brave and actually working from a photograph from a recent holiday or something. That was what I was going to do, but I thought I better just copy something first of all. Right, so we start to really, really pile on the red that's there. And don't forget these really, really big, I'm not sure if they're the poplar trees that are there at the back as well. Really tall. Look at the angle of them, how many are there? Got all the detail. Make them quite dark, these, and then we'll go over the top of them with a bit of green. Go over the top of that, and any details. This is when you would start to put the detail in. And we chose Van Gogh, by the way, but there was nothing stopping you. You could have looked at Monet, you could have looked at Turner, you could have looked at anyone else for your inspiration here. I just chose him because I like the marks that he uses. I like all the mark making, all the marks that he uses in his work. And I don't think Sophie's on today, but Sophie will maybe remember if she's here, we always do Starry Starry Night in Primary 1 when we're doing our day and night topic. And we do exactly the same thing. We just get the paper, we line it up, and then we just really, really go for it. It's always lovely. I think this year we actually painted them, I don't think. And we painted and did collage this year because we had a little bit more time. That was when we had a whole afternoon of Primary 1, so we did something a bit more adventurous, but normally I would just do it like this. Okay, so I think you're about done. Have you done your trees at the top? So what those two put in? I think I'm about finished, because the problem is if you end up tinkering with it too much, you end up losing a lot of the abstraction. And what normally happens is you look at something really, really up close and it looks really messy, but from a distance, it'll look quite impressive. Okay, that's probably what you'll find normally with Van Gogh's work. Right, I'm gonna, what time are we at? Oh, it's taken half an hour, and I said it would only take half an hour. We're gonna disappear in a wee minute. And if you're still working at home, keep working. I'm not expecting, I know, it looks great. If you are still working, I don't expect you to finish like that. But what I'm going to do right now is show you how to take the tape off. And then I'm going to say goodbye. And I'll see you next week. I think next week we were going to possibly look at Picasso. Another one of my favourite artists. Got a big pile of things that we could do. But I'm sure it was Picasso I was going to look at with you next week. I haven't really planned it yet. Right, taking the tape off. So, the rule to this, in the words of my great friend Mr. Denny, is go low and slow. Go low and slow when you're taking that tape off. So don't just rip it off as like a stick and plaster. Find the end of it, and if you listened to me and you did it in the order that I did it in, you're doing the opposite. So it was top, side, side, bottom. It's now going to be bottom, side, side, top. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to find the end of that tape. And when we pull it, you're not pulling it across, you're pulling it down at a 45-degree angle. Always pulling it slowly and lowly and away from your artwork. Okay, now your hands are going to be quite messy, so ideally what you want to find now is a clean finger to hold onto the paper. You'll probably find it starting to lift up. The thing is, if the paper starts to rip, which it might be doing if it's not brilliant cartridge paper, if the paper starts to rip, all that's going to happen is you're just going to rip the top layer or even the whole layer of that border. So you're not ruining your picture. If the worst comes to the worst, you can actually just cut your border off. If you pull it in the way and it starts to rip, you're going to keep ripping all the way up your picture. So it's really important that you keep pulling away from the paper. So I'm going to go for my right and my left now. So I'm pulling away really low and really slow away from my picture. And you'll be able to see how that border now is starting to appear. You see that? So up close, total mess, but from a distance, looks pretty expressive. Okay, so I'm just going to pull that off really slowly. Oh, top there just came off by itself there. The trickiest bit to do is actually the top, because now you've got nothing stuck to the table anymore. But as I said, just really take your time and really go slowly with taking that table off. Okay, and then because it's an artist original, you'll need to sign your bottom right hand side corner. That's what they normally would do. Don't know what your signature looks like. Oh, mine's a bit of a scribble, to be honest. Okay, and that's us.
Wait, should I do that?
Yeah, I can do it. Okay, so you've got your interpretation of your Van Gogh, your expressive Van Gogh landscape. So that's us. Thank you so much for joining us. It was lovely to see you all. As per usual, if you have taken part, please, please, please post the photograph, because I'm quite nosy. I like to see what everyone's been doing. I will put the lesson on the YouTube channel and on Facebook, and you can catch up with it any time. Yeah, and that's us. So I think next week, in the pipeline, it's going to be a Picasso portrait. So it'll be a bit wacky next week. But if you have got anything that you want to do, or an artist you want to look at, or any ideas, please just get in touch with me. And Alex is currently taking his tape off. It's looking wonderful, I have to say. It's looking like a bit of a plonker. So I'm going to go and have a cup of tea, post the photos of our artwork, and look forward to seeing what you've all been up to. Thank you again for joining us. Thank you, and see you very, very soon. Take care. Bye-bye.